Can you beat Divinity Original Sin 2 as a pacifist? Most people would tell you no, since you're forced into several fights throughout the game. But Larian has grown famous for the amount of creativity they allow within their games. So could you find other ways to progress without needing to kill anything? I have no idea, but in this video, I intend to find out. For my rules, nothing in my party can attack, debuff, damage, or kill anything. Including my summons, they can't do it for me. Anything outside of my party though, I am not responsible for their actions. And lastly, I'll be playing on Tactician because I'm a Tactician. I figured a lizard would be good for this playthrough because of their +1 persuasion racial bonus. Named myself Pete, chose to start with the invisibility skill, and began my pacifist prisoner life. The first floor of the tutorial is all just dialogue, which is no problem. But as I climbed up to the ship's top deck, not even 5 minutes into the game, there's already a forced combat situation. Thankfully, these void-woken slugs can be completely ignored, so I slip past them back below deck. Immediately afterwards, a second ambush begins, but like a true hero, I hid in the broom closet while the uncontrolled NPCs did all that nasty, filthy killing stuff. Once they'd claimed victory, the ship is sunk by a kraken and I find myself on the shore ready to begin this damage-free journey. Because it's dangerous to go alone, for this playthrough I've recruited both Fane and the Red Prince, forcing them to join me in a life of non-violence. Together we picked some nearby mushrooms and flowers like true anti-war hippies, then stood idly by while the game's lead antagonist murdered a poor defenseless lizard in cold blood. Better her than us. The prison camp of Fort Joy is the first large quest hub in the game, so I got started here by verbally pacifying racist humans to prevent an elf hate crime, and giving one of the flowers I'd picked to a ghoul. The flower quest in particular rewards me with a healing ring, which when returned to the ghoul's daughter grants me the hero tag. Most people, the game's wiki, and even the almighty Google will tell you the hero tag does nothing, but I can assure you they're wrong. This hero tag is 100% crucial to have any chance at completing this run. Trust me, you'll see later. Exploration got my party to level 3, and using the pet pal talent, I was able to speak with several dogs to convince them we do not taste any good for that delicious XP. Without even gaining 3 full levels, I'd already exhausted every available non-violent quest from Fort Joy. Adopting a bush disguise allowed me to sneak my way out of the prison camp, and escaping here got me enough experience to level up. Now that we're level 4, there are several new skill books available at the vendors. The most important of these skills are teleport skills like Tactical Retreat, which can be used to reach hidden areas for additional XP. As this is a no-kill run and not a no-crime run, Fane got his hands in every random prisoner's pockets, making me richer than a React YouTuber farming Mr. Beast drama. The next quest hub in Act 1 is Armadia's Sanctuary, which has only 3 non-kill quests for me to do. The first quest is to heal the injured Seekers, which I did right on the spot. The second is to get the undead priestess's soul back to her, and the third is to find the leader of the Seekers, Gareth. Gratiana's soul quest requires tracking down an ancient hidden vault that she's been unable to locate for years, so you'd think it would be pretty difficult to find. But actually, it's in a cave 50 feet away from her. Isn't that convenient? The cave's entrance is blocked by a few crocodiles, but by playing Metal Gear Solid in DOS2, we can get by them without issue. Fane was particularly well equipped for the infiltration job, as he can feign his death when caught by enemies. At the end of the cave, I scooped up one lady's soul in a jar from a massive treasure vault, returned it to the priestess, and ventured back into the swamp to find my missing man. Not long after, we find Gareth trapped by magisters in a castle courtyard, with 2 sets of enemies in our way. The first set of magisters are able to be convinced to flee the area after a little bit of speechcraft. This second set, however, are out for blood. I cannot afford to let Gareth die, because I need him in the near future, so I took on the role of a combat medic, while these magisters broke Rule 25 of the Geneva Convention by trying to kill me. Gareth the madman took every single war criminal's life using his own 2 hands, over the course of 27 agonizing combat rounds. Then instead of berating my conscientious objection to battle like I so very much deserved, he complimented my ability to land blows. With Gareth safe and sound, the only living thing blocking my path forward was the Shriekers. Despite being crucifix torture victims, they're clearly still alive, so I'm not gonna be killing them. But I kinda need them gone in order to progress the game. There is one way I wouldn't need to do it though, and it involves slaying the magic dragon, not slaying, slain. A second problem arises though, as the dragon is chained up by a couple of bone totems. Now I'm 99% sure these bone totems aren't actually alive, as the game says they're items. But rather than risk offending every single bone totem currently watching this video by stating they aren't alive, I'll need to find someone else to end their existence. Luckily, the only enemy even close to this dragon has an area effect attack, so all I had to do was stand next to these totems while the flaming skeletons made the choice to kill them. With slaying the dragon free, he told me his evil ex-witch girlfriend enslaved him using a magic wand and locked him up. I'm no fan of toxic relationships, so I agreed to help him escape. You can't pickpocket equipped items in this game, but luckily the nasty evil witch is a complete noob who didn't know that, because when I checked her inventory, the wand is right there. I returned the stolen wand to our dragon friend, and without asking unmasking, he flew off to deliver a peaceful death to the prisoners of war. Thanks to Big Blue's war crimes, we'd reached Act 1's final boss, Bishop Alexander. Now, unfortunately, to leave this island, Alexander has to die. There's just no way around that. To make matters worse, the Seekers who I intend to use in my plans all run away once you start the battle. What I really needed for any chance in this battle was the element of surprise. So, I surprised the Seekers with an obstacle course to change their pathing. And suddenly, Gareth decided he now has time to join the fight. Great idea, Gareth. I now had my makeshift murderers at my side, and I did all I could to support these absolute dog shit warriors. Like, seriously, they still almost lost, even with me throwing a million heals at them. Abusing the flee battle feature as much as possible allowed me to reset my cooldowns and keep them alive while they bloodied the battlefield. And after an hour and a half of combat, Gareth landed a killing blow on the final Magister. With the game's first boss fight over and no blood on my hands, I set sail with Malady to the Lady Vengeance ship. In the lower deck of the boat, I grabbed the oh-so-useful teleporter pyramids, fled from a couple of ghouls, then sang to the ship to get it going once more. Before setting sail, I constructed a new wall of crates in preparation for the upcoming mandatory boat battle. On the open sea, Dallas ambushes our party, but thankfully this fight doesn't require killing anything to beat it even in normal circumstances. To win this encounter, you just need to defend Malady for 4 turns while she channels her teleportation spell. As the jump ability was not invented back in 2016, my impenetrable wall blocked anything from getting even close to Malady, but Gareth and every other Seeker heroically perished in the defense. Untouched, Malady teleported us all to the Hall of Echoes for safety, and we finished off Act 1 successfully as pacifists. Even though Act 2 is the largest act in the game, it's always amazed me that almost all of it is optional content. First things first, I ran away from Larian's disgusting cutscene to the past and peacefully convinced the executioner to free her prisoner. The Meister here acts as a teacher for the act, and her first instruction to us students is to get high in her basement. During our gassed up stupor, we met the Lizard Goddess and were instructed to find Source Masters to further our abilities. The Meister suggested checking the local barracks for further details, and luckily for us they had a signboard with 3 pictures of the companion Ethan, one of Losa, and a bunch of random circles, which somehow translated perfectly to tell me all the information I need to find these Source Masters. While on the road to locate these masters, I witnessed 3 reindeer beat another to death, just because he's different. Rudolph's story may have taken a darker turn than we first thought. I then intentionally walked face first into an assassination attempt on our ally. This ambush only happens if you have the Red Prince in your party, and even though it may look like I got killed by mistake and am now trying to pretend it was intentional, I can actually prove it had purpose. If you pickpocket this lizard assassin, he has a bow called the Assassin's Bow. Clever name, I know. This bow sets you to permanently have the evasion status. This bonus stacks with your usual dodge chance, bringing it up to 100%. I rezzed the dead, equipped my new toy, then crossed a magical bridge to reach Blood Moon Isle. Here resides the Advocate, one of the Source Masters from the board, as you can clearly see. This guy's a little special because he offers a free Source Mastery lesson in advance, only asking that I kill someone up the road for him afterwards. I'm not Abraham Lincoln, so I told a lie, took his free lesson, and left the island never to return again. The only other teacher you can learn from without any combat whatsoever is located in Paradise Downs. To find her, I have to traverse a very dangerous path, but in the end, I get to meet with Almira. She promises to teach me in exchange for getting her and her lover out of this dangerous area. Using a few precise 0 damage nether swap spells, this can be accomplished quite easily, and her reward for this quest is a magical succubus kiss. The kiss is somehow the entire lesson, which doesn't really make a lot of sense, but neither does playing this game as a pacifist, so who am I to complain? Now that I'm a master in source magic, I have to go inhale unhealthy looking smoke once more, so to show respect, I did it in the Lizard Cemetery. In this other realm, the Lizard Goddess grants us the Source Vampirism spell, which when cast will instant kill any ghost we encounter in the world. But since the Lizard Goddess has some sick vor fetish, she demands we vampirism her before giving the location to the next act. Being a god, she doesn't die, which is a relief, but as soon as I got out of her domain, I removed that off my hotbar to avoid any accidental spirit homicides. What I didn't realize before making this video is that you can technically complete all of Act 2 without even entering combat. But I'm still level 10, so rather than risk it all right now, I did all I could before moving on. I delved secret libraries, fed spiders with random dismembered limbs I'd found laying about, and even played matchmaker. First for a rat plus a turtle, second for a prince and princess, and third for a dwarf and spider. Losing an arena match on purpose granted me no XP, but it did give me a blindfold that I'll be needing later. One quest I nearly forgot about was receiving the blessing from the dwarf raven god, who gave me its feathers to craft the vulture armor set and complete my evolution into a parrot. Doing every non-violent act I could think of plus exploring more than a Spanish schoolgirl only got me to level 12. And while I technically could spend hours luring innocent creatures to the town square to die while leeching the XP, that sounds super lame, not within the spirit of the challenge. So screw it, Malady, we're setting sail for what's normally a level 16 zone. The Nameless Isle, aka Act 3, is the smallest act in the game, and Spoiler alert, there is a mandatory encounter coming up which may very well be impossible. But rather than give up before I even started, I put my best foot forward to grind XP. And god, were the XP rewards stingy. Permanent flight made all the puzzles easy, and as you can probably imagine, I just stealth passed all the fights without much interesting stuff happening at all in the act. Even by the time I got to the end of the act and entered the Temple of the One, I'd earned only 2 levels from the whole island. Just before beginning the arena battle, I said goodbye to my companions, because I didn't want them to get in my way. Then began the fake battle for divinity. While these psychopaths raged war on each other, I peacefully flew by to complete the gauntlet first. For a moment I thought it's a cute metaphor that peace comes out ahead of war, but at the last second Dallas shows up with a big gun to stun me, explode the ascension device, and insta-purge all the other combatants. Turns out big weapons are still the actual winners during conflict. While the temple is falling apart and the world is ending, I did the only sensible thing I could, stripping down to nothing but my pants, my bow, and a blindfold. The blindfold reduces my attack range, and the bow gives me 100% dodge chance. I did this because the next battle is a mirrored combat encounter with the angry lizard goddess, who uses the exact items I have equipped. That's also why I dropped my companions, so that I'd only have to deal with one mirrored target. It's important to note that you get no allies in this battle, but you do get the advantage that fire and rocks will randomly fall from the ceiling. Thanks to that mechanic, there's still a chance here. I just needed to keep walking around the room and standing near the cave-ins repeatedly until the stupid mirror image stands in it. And thanks to the blindfold, she has to move super close to be able to hit me. My items had practically made me immune to taking damage, and thanks to them, I'm on no time limit. May I also point out that because of the turn order, the enemy always has the chance to dodge these cave-ins. They are choosing to die. This was the one section of the game that I was super worried about, and you have no idea how proud I was that the plan was working so well. Upon reaching half HP, the mirror image transformed into a Source Titan. I could still evade its attacks, so I continued the fight as normal, biding my time until the roof collapsed upon its head, only for the word immune to pop up. Upon closer examination of the Source Titan, I can confirm it is immune to fire damage. And it was at this exact moment my heart sank. That was my entire strategy. Pete the Pacifist had failed. Maybe the internet was right, and this really is impossible. I went to sleep that night and brainstormed anything that could take care of the problem, and eventually I had a new idea. In the tutorial section of the game, there are death fog barrels you can obtain as a player. These barrels kill anything that isn't undead in a single hit. Could the Source Titan be vulnerable to that, and could a cave-in trigger the barrel? The only way to even attempt such a theory would require playing through the entire game again in the exact same way. With already 16 hours down the drain, it was back to square one. Pacifist Pete was reborn as Pacifist Peter, the Undead. I grabbed the death fog barrels at the start of the game, and rather than tell you the exact same story again, I took a few recordings together with the barrels at crucial moments in the story. Since I'd already developed my strategies and written my script, I was able to cut my second playthrough down to just 10 hours. Finally caught back up to that point, my mirror image followed me into the cave-ins once more, turned into a Source Titan, and when it paused in a cave-in location, I placed the death fog barrel there, then went invisible. The Titan fully has the ability to move away, but chose not to. The ceiling then collapsed, busted open the barrel, and finally the Source Titan had been killed without my damage. I'd gambled over 26 hours of gameplay, but it paid off. Once out of the collapsing temple, we spoke to Malady to begin the game's final act. I ran by all the civilians, then snuck past the Voidwoken encounter, hoping to enter the city. But what I didn't know is that the gate to the city is closed until these Voidwoken die. There are neutral NPCs in this fight, but most of them are scripted to die, so it's kinda impossible to use them to win the fight like I could before. There's also no random cave-ins, no way to trigger explosives. Literally nothing can be done to kill them without my intervention. But I did not just play through the entire game twice to be blocked by a door. On this channel, doors do not beat me. There's gotta be another way. Looking at the map, the river looked like it may be narrow enough to cross. I checked the docks, and several enemies were in the way. My allies ran a distraction, giving me a chance to run some tests. But the distance proved to be too far for any kind of teleporting spells. The max range of my spells is only 19 meters, and the closest land showed as being about 30. You can't increase the range of spells to be that far, but the telekinesis skill increases by 4 meters per skill point in it. I leveled it up to the maximum of 5, then found gear to push it past the limit by an additional 5. Using this, I was able to get enough range to telekinetically move objects up to 40 meters. My teleporter pyramid was now in range to be thrown onto the boat across the river, and when used, I'd found my alternate route into the City of Arcs. Act 4 normally has a ton of quests required to finish the game from here, but we're not going to do any of that. No, I headed straight to the cathedral to walk the Path of Blood. The Path of Blood is an in-game check created by the developers for one of your characters. Walking the path confirms that your character has never killed anything, never stolen any items, never sided with the evil faction, and never killed a ghost with Source Vampirism. If your character passes all these checks, then you're made pure and given permanent flying. Ordinarily, just one character in your party needs to have avoided killing instead of all of them for this in-game check to work. But I was anyways excited to walk the path and take the test. I very carefully selected my answers and as expected was granted the pure buff from the statue. This also reveals the hidden door, skipping pretty much 90% of Act 4's quests. A lovely reward for Larian for anyone who decided to play the game this way. Once inside the basement, there's a phone game quality pipe maze puzzle, but rather than solve the exact same puzzle I've done a dozen times in the past, I tossed a teleporter pyramid in and used the terrain transmutation spell to move the correct surfaces to their locations, which is what I'd recommend you should do in your future playthrough. Completing that puzzle unlocks the spelling test, and I fractured off my group to pull different letters of levers to successfully spell the word power, because I'd had it memorized. Just before entering the final door of the game, I dismissed my companions and approached the final boss fight, alone at level 14. This fight on Tactician, even at level 20, is actually pretty challenging. But remember back in Act 1 when I said the hero tag was crucial? Well, it took over 20 hours, but I was really telling the truth. If you have the hero tag, but not the villain tag as well, plus your character has the pure buff, and you have level 6 in the persuasion skill, then you do not need to do any fighting at all to complete the game. Since I have all the prerequisites, I just need to tell Brachus to shut his goddamn mouth, select the hero tag option claiming I've walked the Path of Blood and I'm superior to him, insist he hears me out, then tell him my presence here proves that the God King is not all powerful. Selecting these dialogue options causes Brachus to give up the fight without any violence, disappearing forever. With him gone, there's no one left to kill, and I of course claimed divinity, ascending to godhood, and proved it is possible to beat Divinity Original Sin 2 as a pacifist, though still not recommended. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like to help out the channel. Be sure to subscribe if you'd like to see more Divinity or Baldur's Gate 3 content, and big shout out to the channel's first and so far only member. As always, thanks for watching, Proxy out.